9th edition of the Economic Times Supply Chain Management and Logistics Summit 2022, a renowned platform for SCM and logistics leaders to talk about the evolution and leading trends. The highly engaging and educative conference is designed to deliver practical information about supply chain agility, policies, supply risk management, automation of repetitive tasks, technology development and more. Here are the highlights of the day.
Very warm welcome to Maersk presents the Economic Times Supply Chain Management and Logistics Annual Edition Summit. The summit has been co-powered by AWS and Gobolt and brought to you by ET Edge, with an all-new theme of navigating disruptions in 2022 and beyond. So as I thank each of you for joining us, it is now such a pleasure to invite here our chief guest to address this august gathering. Please put your hands together for Honorable Minister Syed Shahnawaz Hussain, joining us here on stage to welcome all of you.
लॉजिस्टिक में जो लोग जुड़े हैं, उनके लिए मैं दो चार बातें रखना चाहता हूँ कि बिहार के बारे में अगर आप स्ट्रेटजिक लोकेशन देखें, आप आबादी बिहार की करीब 14 करोड़ है, थर्ड लार्जेस्ट स्टेट है। और हमने जब जिम्मा संभाला तो हमने कहा कि आपने सुना था ना, एक बार गुजरात के बारे में चर्चा थी कि बहुत सिटी गंदी है, लोग टूरिस्ट नहीं जाते, सूरत में प्लेग हो जाता है, ऐसा परसेप्शन था। लेकिन प्राइम मिनिस्टर जो आज के हैं उस वक्त वहाँ के सीएम थे, तो उन्होंने गुजरात पर एक राय बनाई थी और एक ऐड भी बनाया था। अमिताभ बच्चन कहते थे कुछ दिन तो गुजारिए गुजरात में। तो हमने लोगों से कहा कि सिर्फ राय मत बनाइए, एक बार तो आइए बिहार में, कि आप एक बार आकर देखिए। आपको परसेप्शन लगता होगा कि जो बिहार के लोग हैं मज़दूर दिखते होंगे। कई बार आप जानिए आज हर तीसरा डीएमएसपी बिहारी है, बात ध्यान रखिएगा। बिहार में इन्वेस्टमेंट के लिए एक अच्छा माहौल है, एक अच्छे चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं और एक इंडस्ट्री मिनिस्टर है जो भारत सरकार में 22 साल पहले यंगेस्ट एवर कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर ऑफ इंडिया रहा है और उसने वाजपेयी जी के साथ काम किया है। तो हमें वो अनुभव है कि हम आपको बिहार के अंदर वो माहौल दे सकते हैं जिसके बारे में आपकी राय अलग होगी। और इसलिए मैं बहुत शुक्रगुजार हूँ कि आपने मुझे यहाँ पे बुलाया। मैं बहुत शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ।
In a very fast-paced, fragmented, and in a customer-centric world, the current supply chain has to evolve significantly. The traditional models of cost minimization, driving efficiency is not going to work long. And this is where more and more customers are demanding to have their supply chain which has to be highly resilient, which means they need more integrators so that they can reduce the number of nodes what they see in their supply chain, so that they have less amount of disruptions to manage. So that is very clearly resiliency has to come in. The other thing which more and more demands are going to come in is the agility of the supply chain. In the current model, with all the disruptions and the spikes of demands and the variability in the supply, more and more customers need agility now in the supply chain, which means it has to be flexible. And that flexibility has to be provided by the service providers. So the logistic industry has to give that agility and a flexible model for the customers so that they can really align the supply chain with their customers' demand. And finally, the digitization, which is also very, very, very critical. With all the complex and complicated document or paper-driven processes, this is not helping anyone. It only adds cost as to the delay, and digitization is going to help the customers in mapping their processes and driving huge amount of efficiency in the whole supply chain. And there is no denial, a lot of rich data is needed to support the AI, ML, and a lot of automation, and a lot of those predictive analytics which is needed by the customers are well supported. So digitization is going to be the key. India to become a logistic hub, the government needs, we need a government regulatory intervention. The government has to have a vision to set up and take advantage of a very high domestic market and also the potential of bringing the competitiveness on the export side. So a lot of regulatory interventions are required. Together with our strong domestic market, we are already at the crossroads on the east trade and the west trade. India has all the potential to become a logistic hub with given reduced logistic costs in the future.
in addition to all the other great things that the companies are doing in terms of addressing this new challenge in supply chain, which has actually been disturbing us for many years, and especially post-pandemic with the demand significantly rising, is how they're investing in the organization culture a lot differently than before. Organizations which are doing well already on the journey of transformation are significantly evolving the way they've been organized around people, around culture, how they're hiring and setting up diverse teams, bringing in new perspectives, and how organizations are investing a lot in the agile ways of working and ensuring that people are empowered across levels in addressing the challenges and bring their perspectives on the table. One of the big things which the companies are investing a lot in is changing the leadership style, moving away from command and control to actually becoming servant leaders. Becoming servant leaders means how you're enabling and empowering people to bring in their perspectives and helping them grow in the journey. This whole concept of continuous learning and continuing learning across levels is also something which is really reaping a lot of benefits. So it's all about creating a culture where people are celebrating the early wins. They do acknowledge there's a long way to go, but equally so creating a safe space where people are encouraged to fail fast, learn from their mistakes, adapt and move on. So all of this putting together is really helping the organizations being on the right journey and weathering all the storms which are in front of us.
So we have made a significant progress. The proof of the pudding is, look at the transit time. Gone are the days where the delivery used to happen in days. Now it's moved to hours, minutes, now to single digit minutes. So I definitely believe we have made a significant progress, including also keeping a due care to the sustainability agenda, where most of the EVs are now deployed on the last mile. Of course, we have a long way to go, but I strongly believe we have made a great progress on the last mile delivery. I think we still need to focus a lot more on developing the right infrastructure. It's there in pockets, but purely from a country perspective, I think we have some ground to cover. And second is, as I said even before, the integrated view on the business. Today, the approach on supply chain is still very fragmented, and we need to have a more integrated view, which will create a bit more transparency, a bit more efficiency will come into the process, and that will really create India as a global power to reckon with.
So supply chain these days is one of the most important areas for running an efficient business. Modern supply chains these days require unified view of data. And then the data has to be very, very clearly visible, which we call real-time updates for transportation or production. And then we also need to have accurate insight into forecast. If we can forecast things with high accuracy, it can give a very good advantage to most businesses. We at AWS, we have been working with customers and partners to provide end-to-end visibility throughout the supply chain, where they can track things from production, going through the distribution channel, and end-to-end until delivery. Let me share an example. There's a customer called the More Retail. It's one of the top 4 grocery retailers in India with a revenue of several $1 billion. They have 600 plus stores where customers can purchase grocery. They also have 25 plus distribution centers, collection centers, and processing centers. They were using a combination of traditional statistical models. They were also doing a lot of manual judgment by store managers to decide how much of fruits and vegetables they should stock in their store. So it was leading to a lot of inaccuracy, which would sometimes lead to overstock of perishable items like fruits, vegetables. They have a very limited shelf life. And if you overstock, it leads to wastage because customers are not there to buy it. But if you understock, that is also bad because a customer would come to buy the specific item, but you don't have it in store, which means a customer will be disappointed. If they are buying online, it's likely that they will not check out and they will say that if I don't have what I need, I'll probably buy it from somewhere else. So they were working with us. They used a service called Amazon Forecast, which allows you to accurately forecast the demand based on how things have happened in past, and also a lot of signals which can be fed into the system in a time series. So they use Amazon Forecast. Their accuracy of prediction for fruits and vegetables went up from 24% to 76%, which led to reduction in wastage by about 30%, It also improved their in-stock rates from 80% to 90%. And finally, their gross profit increased by 25%. So it's just a small example, but shows you the power of accurate prediction. So products like Forecast can allow you to customize and automatically recognize what are the demographics of the people around that, what are the signals around a specific dealership, and predict accurately how much production you should be doing. And I think these type of things can be a game changer for a lot of businesses, where they can accurately see this is how much I need to produce, having your items available when customer really needs, and leading to overall efficiency for your businesses, and also leading to a much better satisfaction.
So indeed, logistics have gone with a dynamic change. If you've seen for the past 2 years, a lot of disruptions have happened, be it COVID, be it war, be it supply side of disruptions, be it foreign semiconductor chips, or be it any kind of China disruptions, etc. So a lot of focus has now gone on how you make your supply chain agile and nimble. And that's where technology comes into the foreplay. Now the sector has evolved a lot from here. It demands a lot of deep technology, a lot of more sophisticated technology system, not just tracking. They need control of their entire operations. They need visibility. They want to manage their vendors. They want to know how they are performing. They need data at their hands. They want to automate processes. They want to automate certain mundane processes like bill generations, freight reconciliations, indent management. Now all these have come at the forefront. There are deep tech systems that have started providing efficiencies to this sector. You talk about AI and ML enabled data analytics, you about decision making. People are now being able to optimize their systems much better. The dispatch plannings have helped them. The route plannings have helped them. The vehicle plannings have helped them. Also, if you talk about the last mile deliveries for most of the sector, you talk about e-commerce, retail, etc. That's the point where they have the customer facing role, where the customer experience is generated. You order on a Grofers, you order on Amazon, you expect the same time day delivery. How it is enabled by the technology that binds their entire supply chain model. So a lot of shift has happened, and again, Gobolt is at the forefront for providing this technology to all our enterprise customers.
The Economic Times Supply Chain Management and Logistics Summit 2022 discussed the opportunities and challenges that the SCM industry is facing. Here are the highlights of the day.
It is now time for us to look forward to a very special fireside chat on retrospection, managing global supply chain risk in today's context. So let's look forward to this interesting session coming your way.
So is your company, Tata Chemicals, considering investing in upskilling current employees, hiring really tax-savvy people, or, we need to really look at the right implementation of technology to bring in efficiency and also upskill people at the right time?
The newer generation is, of course, digitally native, in a sense, digital born, with a lot of familiarity around digital tools. But we also have a large spectrum of employees that need to be upskilled and upgraded. And I think a lot of our focus today is going not just into building the digital infrastructure, because that you can do. That's a matter of nuts and bolts and how much money you throw at it. But the softer piece is around building capability and building appropriate capability. So you need to do what's appropriate, not what's sexy.
On which area of supply chain would you emphasize more of digital transformation?
I think for us, all these areas, procurement, manufacturing, logistics, sale, all areas have been very relevant from digitization perspective. Let's say what has been our focus, and this focus was further emphasized. Our focus was how do we do end-to-end digitization? How do we do farm to fork digitization? So end-to-end digitization is another dimension, and I say next 3-4 years, all large organizations, there is some Gartner study which says, we'll have to focus. You should have digitized tool, and you should have digitized tool which are talking to each other.
So when you look at some of these events, etc., how are the supply chains coping up with the combination of global and local events in everyday life?
When it comes to global disruptions. I think it's about an organization's ability to understand the customer needs in the evolving scenario, and then determining what constraints they need to put or relax on their supply chain. So for example, in the early part of the pandemic, when household essentials was the most important thing for everyone, and things like hand sanitizers and masks and things like that, we prioritized that selection in terms of both our recommendation algorithms as well as product placement on the website itself. On the back end, we were able to find the best source of these in a rapid way.
And my esteemed panel members, I would request them to kind of share some thoughts on what they see as some of the challenges that supply chains are experiencing and are going to continue to experience, and how do you kind of look to practically look at some solutions that you see going forward.
In my understanding, I think the tech solutions and the digital solutions brings a transparency and also efficiency to the whole value chain, right? And therefore, I would like to talk about a couple of steps that we have made in our business, the interventions, which is the first in terms of the overall planning process. So what we have done earlier, as opposed to use a planning process, which is the integrated business planning, which is a monthly process, broke this into a weekly planning process. So what it does, it really helps you to closer to your demand point A, B in terms of your cost to serve being more effective and efficient.
I think one piece which is equally critical, not only in supply chain, but anywhere, if you're from a business standpoint, is the people aspect. And broadly, I would like to categorize our talent in two buckets. One is the talent which mans technology, does the analytics, predictive, prescriptive, etc. But the other aspect of the talent is the tip of the spear, which is physically delivering goods. And with the rising customer expectations of express delivery, because now studies after studies have said that now more than 70% of the consumers are looking more from an experience standpoint versus purely a product which is of a right quality and cost.
Last 2 years was a crisis, but at the same time it was an opportunity there for most of us. So what were the opportunities which were unraveled during this particular time? The technology which was nice to have become a necessity now. So just to give you an example, they're like tracking trucks, simple things like that, tracking trucks earlier was a nice to have, but now it is compulsory now. So it is compulsory now, which has helped us there immensely. Their companies have fast-tracked this there during the pandemic. Not only just there to benefit the customers, but also to benefit the company.
The major mandate for us is multimodal logistics parks. In Bharatmala Pariyojana, when the economic corridors was taken up, the objective was also to take up the 35 multimodal logistics park around the economic corridors. So across the countries, we are developing very large scale real multimodal logistics parks. So I need to explain you what MMLP, because I'm not sure the audience here is much more aware about that. And we are also on the cargo side, we are developing port connectivities. Because I'm sure you might have heard the PM Gati Shakti program, when Honorable PM launched, very clearly said, we build good highways, we build good railways, and port, last ka 2 kilometer, 1 kilometer हमसे छूट जाता है, वही problem होता है. So that we are really taking care now, and across port, irrespective of major, minor, non-major, private, public, all ports has been taken on priorities.
Genesis of dedicated freight corridor is basically aimed at attending or alleviating the miseries plaguing the transport sector. In 2006, it was conceptualized, let's have dedicated freight corridors, which will be assuring a faster and assured transit in a safer and convenient way, environmentally superior and with low social cost, cheaper and ease of doing business should improve. When we talked about the basic objectives to increase the modal share by creating additional rail infrastructure and reduction in the unit cost, we have focused approach for segregating the dedicated freight infrastructure. We will give the dedicated timetable services and decongestion of major roadways also. Some of the things which we just kept it that we will be within 3 years of our starting, we will be able to achieve about 163 million tons of traffic with existing private sidings and others which we are developing. So this is the incremental traffic.
Inland water transport offers cost-effective, energy-efficient and environment-friendly mode of transport, which can be utilized for relieving congestion on road and rail networks. As per a World Bank study, the cost of carrying 1 ton of cargo over 1 kilometer is rupees 2.28 on roadways, 1.41 for railways, and rupees 1.06 on waterways. Moreover, inland vessels capacity is approximately 1,500 to 2,000 ton, which is equivalent to 100 and 125 trucks on road and 30 to 40 rail wagons on railways. Inland water transport in India plays a very small role in national freight transport, carrying only 2% of India's freight as of now, as compared to 7 to 14% in China, US and European unions.
What we feel is really important is that this has a direct impact on the SMEs. And SMEs represent around 90% of all firms globally. They make up roughly 70% of employment and contribute up to 70% of global GDP. We also know that trade receivables account for 40% of the total assets of an SME on average, and deferred credit payment terms is the biggest challenge faced by SMEs. Supply chain finance is one of the solutions to address this issue. Supply chain finance provides benefits to all the stakeholders, suppliers, buyers, and banks. By shifting the risk from SME suppliers to the large buyers, supply chain finance can be a beneficial tool for SMEs to optimize their working capital. Digital platforms make the process of financing virtually instantaneous, enabling bulk onboarding of SMEs and reducing acquisition cost and operational burden.
It's been a very, very wonderful event and a day. A lot of learnings through the day, at least I would say that, most of the sessions were very insightful, very engaging, whether we covered, whether the minister covered, very, very passionately about Bihar and how the perception for Bihar needs to change. I think supply chain has to go beyond just the whole cost piece that, reduce the cost, optimize all the time. I think supply chain as a domain, as a function, and logistics, of course, is clearly a value driver in every organization. And to my mind, I think that's possibly the most important mantra for all of us as we go along. And surely, I must say that being a supply chain professional for last almost 20 plus years, these are best of the times for supply chain fraternity.
The 9th edition of the Economic Times Supply Chain Management and Logistics Summit 2022 concluded with lots of takeaways and set many benchmarks for the industry.